The Dornan family portraits. Pictured side by side are a painting and a drawing featuring three members of the Dornan family. At left is the father and son painting of Patrick Dornan with his late father, Steve Dornan. At right, Steve is pictured embracing Roseanne, who is Steve's widow and Patrick's mom. We met up with Roseanne at her home in Ottawa.
Stephen and I were a team. I don't know how many people had told us what a good couple we were. We worked well together. We communicated. We supported each other. We didn't even go buy a set of dishes unless we did it together. We respected each other. We listened to each other. We comforted each other. I knew I had a cheerleader in my corner and he knew I was his. We were each other's priority. But that all changed when he came home from Bosnia. The day he came back, he yelled at our daughter. She had a splinter, and it was a big splinter. And he basically said, you have no idea what pain is. And my mouth dropped to the floor. And I knew, because this was not him. He was much more compassionate, caring, and loving than that.
According to Roseanne, her husband remained resistant to getting help for his escalating PTSD symptoms related to his deployments to Bosnia and later Afghanistan. But it wasn't until around 2003, Roseanne says, that Stephen realized he had to seek therapy.
One day, things came to a boiling point. We were arguing quite loudly. My son was in his room, my middle son, who's in the military, Patrick. He said, "Look what you've done, you've made him cry." I just thought, you bastard, you brought this home to us. I'm not making him cry. You not getting help has made him cry. And me cry. And our family suffer. I don't know if I said it in such a way that he finally heard me. I'd never seen that look before or since on his face. But it was almost like he got it. Like a switch flipped.
Roseanne said that the healing process sped up by tragic necessity in 2017 and 2018 due to Stephen's illness. He'd first been diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in the early 2000s. But Stephen also received a bowel cancer diagnosis in 2017, which doctors subsequently diagnosed as terminal.
Without words, we realized that our time is coming to an end. Was this how we wanted to leave each other? So a new journey began. Living while dying, healing while dying. And at this point, there was really nothing medical that they could do for him. We had to face what was coming. And we both agreed that we were going to go through however long we had. It ended up being 9 months, with grace and dignity and with courage. And I think in the end, we healed so much in those last 9 months because we realized what was going to happen. He wasn't going to be here anymore. So we spent a lot of those 9 months healing all of the damage that had been caused from the PTSD. And I often think that I really did lose Stephen twice. The first time to PTSD, the second time, again, from cancer. And I didn't do it so right the first time. But the second time I got an opportunity to make change.
Patrick Dornan is the only portrait subject in the Red Blanket Project collection who is also an active service member in the Canadian Armed Forces. In the father and son painting, Patrick is pictured in front of a missile strike during Operation Impact in Iraq. His father is depicted with a UN armored personnel carrier during the siege of Sarajevo. Patrick said that seeing his own dad experience PTSD symptoms following his Afghanistan and Bosnia deployments made Patrick promise himself he would seek professional help if he ever found himself experiencing PTSD during his own military career. Nevertheless, it still took Patrick about 2 years of experiencing symptoms before he eventually sought out therapy. Patrick credits having an understanding boss, good therapists, and his loved ones for his ability to get better and to continue to wear the uniform. We spoke with Patrick online from Latvia, where he is currently deployed.
My dad and I were always very close growing up. And then when I was really struggling, he was one of the first people that noticed I wasn't doing that well. So it gave me someone to talk to about it. Obviously, he was very sick at this time, but we still managed to have those discussions and talk about my experience and talk about his experience. And he said, it took me over 10 years to talk to someone. It only took you 2 years. When, this project came out and Mashid and I were talking about how we wanted the portrait to look, I brought up the fact that, my dad really struggled with the same thing. And, while he wasn't around anymore at the time, it was a way of showing the connection, not only from one soldier essentially to another, but between a father and son, and between two people who had experienced the worst parts, I guess, of military service, how they both carry that with them.
Both Patrick and Roseanne say that to continue to help veterans with PTSD, Canada needs to continually invest in robustly funded mental health supports for service members and veterans.
This is fixable. They're not broken. People with PTSD are not broken. They're bent. We can fix that. We can fix that. Because it's the disease. It's not the person.